this clinic thing is kind of strange. A year ago, we were 2-7, and hell, nobody wanted to talk to me. And all of a sudden this year we have a pretty good year, and now I'm kind of an expert, I guess, right? Because we won 11 games. And it all comes down to this, guys. It all comes down to players. You can do all the studying all you want, and it all comes down to players. I got two examples right here. Two guys played for me. Stand up, Mitch and Nick. These two guys played for me. They both played on championship teams at Chippewa Falls High School, and they're both coaches now. Without those guys, we don't win. It all comes down to that. So what I'm going to talk about here today, guys, is nothing to do with X and O's. 42 years ago when I started coaching, I was a magnet for football information, and I've been in clinics, and I know I've been well over 300 clinics, 10 different states. I tried to absorb as much as I could. And it all comes back to players. It really does. Now I want to tell you one other thing before I go to the next slide here, and that is, and I really want to talk to the young guys, young coaches that haven't been in it long, that are still kind of in their formative stages, like these two guys. When you go to clinics, everybody wants to go to the latest offense and defensive schemes. They all want to go to who won with what. But the key to coaching, if you guys don't go to something like what Mark Hull put on, that is the key to coaching right there. Getting the kids. Getting the kids the proper way. X's and O's aren't going to get you there. It's getting to the kids in the right way. So I highly suggest that any clinic you go to, that you can get to the sports psychology, get into the heads, get into the why of coaching. I think that's way more important than the X's and O's. Go to the next one. As I go through these slides, and basically my presentation today is going to be nothing but quotes that I've lived by, that I picked up at clinics for 42 years. About my first year coaching, first or second year, I was at the Coach of the Year clinic in Minneapolis, and I think it was Grant Teff was talking, and he said this: if you can live without coaching, get out of it. Now you think about it. Think about waking up on a Saturday morning after a tough Friday night loss. Think how you feel. Now your buddy who owns a business in town, who drives a truck, he doesn't feel that way. And if you stick in coaches long enough, you're going to have a lot of those Saturday mornings where you feel just like crap. Now if you can't live with that, if you come back on Monday and take it out on the kids, take it out on your family, take it on your wife, whatever, then you probably shouldn't be in coaching, because you can't live with it. And it took me a long time. I was kind of upset the first time I saw this, and because I said, hey, obviously I'm a coach, so I don't know, why would you say something like that? But the longer I was in it, the more I understood what he was talking about. And guys, there's a few things I'm going to talk about today that you may not agree with, but these are things that I've learned through the years, and I've got green letters on some slides. Those are the ones that I've gotten from other coaches. I've got some red lettering, which you'll see sooner, which are some things that I have come up with myself. Okay, the next slide. Coaches are thieves. Nothing is new in football. And you guys have maybe heard something like this, but it's true. We're all thieves. We all learn from one another. We steal from one another. This guy's got a great idea. I'm going to take it. I'm going to use it. This guy does. This guy does. Nothing's original. Nothing is. Next slide. So at the start of the season this year, one Sunday I had a bad night. I was kind of pissed off at the world, and I'm not teaching anymore. I'm just coaching. So he said, I'm going to go into my office and I'm going to clean out all my coaching stuff, everything I've collected. So I brought a tote with me. Go to the next slide. No, there should be one. I kept going back and back and back, and finally it took me 7 totes to get everything that I'd collected over 42 years from going to clinics. A lot of Coach of the Year manuals, a lot of playbooks from different people, different programs, etc., etc. My office was just stuffed full of that stuff. Now you got to realize that when I started coaching, there wasn't as much as a computer, much less the internet. So you guys can access all of this information Anything you want on offense and defense, drills, it's out there. It's easy to get at. You don't have to have totes full of stuff like that. But like I said, I've been to so many clinics and I collected so many things that I don't know what it'd be worth if I had to sell it all, but there's really a whole lot of money tied into that stuff right there with clinics. Okay, go to the next slide. Oh, there you go. This is one thing that I've picked up on lately that I think makes a lot of sense. Back when I took coaching classes in college, they never talked about stuff like this. But I think in today's world, with today's athletes and parents, administration, let me talk about administration for a second. When I first started coaching, the common path was the guy was a head coach, then he moved into being the principal of the school. And those schools were run pretty good. A lot of discipline, okay, that kind of model. That doesn't happen anymore. You don't have those coaches that go into administration. You get the guys that probably couldn't teach. I don't know. Not in every school, but a lot of that happens. So coaches got to deal. You got to manage unhappiness. Think about it. Think about some of the things you have to deal with as a head coach or as a coach in general. I don't like uniforms. I don't like the time we practice. I don't like the offense. I don't like the defense. I don't like how Coach so-and-so treats me. And it goes to this. How come my son wasn't all conference? How come my son isn't that? How come he... There's so many unhappinesses involved with coaching that you got to manage today that back when I started coaching weren't there. They were taken up by somebody else, or because of the parental support you had back then, you didn't have to deal with. That's a big part of your job today, managing the unhappiness. Go to the next one. Again, this is one that I picked up from a coach at a clinic. And again, some of these you've probably seen many times, but never forget why you coach. It's kids. It's like these guys here. Without them, you wouldn't have a job or a game to compete in. So when you're sitting back there with your buddies or with your assistants and you're complaining about the kids you got, they can't do this, they can't do that, they're not very good, whatever. Hey, that's your job. If you don't have those kids, you don't have a job. You're doing something else, and you don't have a game to compete in. I think that is a great statement right there. That's one that I've lived by and I really believe in. Go to the next one. This is one that I kind of, maybe I heard it from somebody, but it's in the back of my mind quite a bit. Remember why you win? It's the kids again. You as a coach will never make a block, you'll never make a tackle, you'll never make a touchdown. It's the kids. So when you win that big game, you win the championship or whatever, give credit to the kids. Don't put yourself in a position where you are drawing attention to yourself like, oh, I did this, I did, it's my offense, my defense, my planning, my whatever, I made a great call, I did this and that. No, you didn't. The coach did it. I mean, the kids did it. It's all the kids. I strongly believe in that. Go to the next one. Again, I picked this up at a clinic. Be yourself. Kids can smell fake. If you try to pretend that you love a kid, that you like a kid, that you love your job, they can tell that you don't if you have to pretend. Be yourself. Be honest to yourself. If you can't handle a game, can't handle coaching, get out of it. But be yourself and be honest. Kids can smell a fake a mile away. Next one. This is huge. And it's getting, the past few years, it got to be bigger and bigger. Never talk about players or kids in the public. If you do, only say positive things. Don't get yourself in a position in a bar, tavern, supper club, in a supermarket or whatever, talking about kids. Can't do that. And it doesn't matter where you're at. You can be on vacation in California and somebody asks about your team and you say something derogatory, come to be it's the guy's relative or whatever. good example of how this internet thing has affected our sport. It happened at our last playoff game. Stevens Point, before the game, the kids are getting dressed and I'm talking to them. And I say, hey guys, there's people all over the country watching you play tonight, live streamed on the internet. I said, I've got family in Arizona that's watching the game. I've got good friends in Columbia, Missouri watching the game. Some of the kids, yeah, my grandma's watching it in northern Minnesota. And our big, strong safety stood up and says, hell, Coach, I got a cousin in Sweden that's watching the game. So the internet and the way that we communicate spreads information really fast. And you never know when you badmouth a kid, or it may get back to the parents or other relatives, whatever. So, man, coaches, you don't ever do that. Don't talk about kids in public. And if you get put in a corner, you've got to talk positive.